just want to stick with what's happening in KPC, for example, for a minute, Sylvanus, because there's just been a lot of talk about political interference at the Kenya Pipeline Company for years with whoever comes in office. Yeah. Apparently a lot of political and commercial interests that have held this organization hostage. A man himself, you know, John Gomi, the board chair, a man who's also shrouded in quite a bit of controversy, he himself defended CS Kecha's choice. It says here, only to find himself in a quandary himself. He also has, you know, some scandals. Mr. Sang himself also had some paid up adverts in local dailies to defend a certain company, giving out information. It turned out the owners of this company that did business with KPC was in fact somebody else with... so what happens now? I mean, he's now out. Maybe Kamata Friday is coming. Later this week?
Of course, Kamata will be coming on Friday. But KPC is one very interesting corporation in this country because of interests that lie within it. And fine, it's one hub that one can really be corrupt, you know, it's one hub that, you know, one can make a lot of money, but it's equally one place where name soiling is equally inevitable because interest in oil industry is too high, and not just in Kenya. The energy sector is big, across the board. Right. I wouldn't want to go to the nitty-gritties of really what happened within the KPC, but I'll say this, that what is happening within our corporations, sadly, why we find a thin line between separating corruption and corruption and work and sometimes witch hunting is because people placed to head corporations must be people probably who come from some tribes, per se. You know, you are probably, because the energy minister or because the president or because of the deputy president, you know, you find yourself in that position because you probably come from, you know, some favorable community. And that is what is actually killing our corporations. I mean, you will not understand why Sang, for instance, has been defended all along at his time until this point when now things are blowing out. He's saying, okay, I do not want to defend my position as CEO. But again, having said that, we need now to review our procurement processes again. And I've said this in this show, that we need to check on our procurement laws again, that we make sure they're in line with Article 227 of the Constitution. That
where in some any of the loopholes, do you think?
All the procurement processes should be done, and that is clearly stated in Article 227, should be competitive, should be transparent, should be cost-effective. Now, what lacks in most of our corporations, it's transparency. We do not see major advertisements done. They opt to allow the loophole that is in the procurement laws that allows the body to do single sourcing. So within that, I mean, that is actually where the corruption starts from. Because when you allow single sourcing, then you are telling one person to decide on who does what.
Right.
So if we go by the major law, if we go by the law that governs every law in this country, and we say now we need everything placed outside there so that we see, like the president's directive, that you need to see who does what and who are the directors. Trust me, you'll not be seeing some of these things. But now guys have taken advantage of that loophole. They are allowing every person to do, and that is what happened even in the maize industry.
There's a portal where you can take a look at all the tendering that's being done by government.
But no, you see, we cannot...
How would I be able to know?
Exactly, we cannot be investigating. I wouldn't know when the board, a certain corporation wants something, so that I keep checking. You know, you wouldn't know that. Or, I mean, although I think Article 35 allows us to get information to the public. Exactly. However, some of these things are concealed. They say
but they're also very complex. So I'm imagining going onto that website and taking a look at some of the tenders that are there. I mean, you know, for a lot of Mwananchi, it's what?
You are unable to verify. For example, if I say Sylvanus OSORO, and I tell you the directors are Yvonne Okwara, Sylvanus and David, that's not enough proof that those are the directors of that. Simply because it's on that website is not sufficient proof. Because you may end up having a company who is owned by these cartels, but they'll just give you names that don't exist. Not proxies, names that don't even exist. Because the registry, the companies, the company registration, I mean the registry, it's files disappear when we want to ask which company is this, who owns it.
They disappear.
Files disappear in that registry. How then are we able to be sure that now suddenly the ones we are going to see on that portal are true? We have a problem. We need an entire paradigm shift. It needs to come from the citizenry. It needs to come from the leadership. Unless and until that is made, I'm telling you, look at the title here. KPC has perfected the culture of graft. I do not want to go into whether Joe Sang is guilty or not guilty. I don't want to be the judge. But one thing I know is that Kenya Pipeline Corporation has been one of the worst problems obtaining over a very long period of time. And no one has had the nerve to crack it and deal with it decisively. A friend of mine once told me, a parliamentarian, a good friend of mine, said, David, there are two sectors where people make money. Said oil and sugar. Two sectors.
So, because corruption is such a big deal,